The United States heads to the polls to elect its next president in less than 3 months. And the economy has been in focus with pundits, they are predicting that there is a strong possibility of a recession. While voter surveys suggest that people generally think that Trump is better at managing the economy, the underlying issues are also far deeper. There is inclusivity, equity, economic justice, and things like that. Here's more. As politics in the United States moves into fifth gear, the economic road seems the one less traveled for voters and the main candidates alike. The election takes place in the backdrop of a U.S. economy experiencing a mix of growth and challenges. It grew at an annual rate of 2.8% in the second quarter of 2024, up from 1.4% in the first quarter. The U.S. economy is pumped by high consumption, inventory, and business investment. After 4 years of a Biden-Harris-led economy, former President Trump and the Republicans hope to re-establish the American entrepreneurial dream. At a rally in Pennsylvania, Trump has sought to portray Harris as extreme left on a number of policies.
And she's going to break our economy even more than it's broken. We have a broken economy. Our supply chain is gone. You know, you order something now. I don't know how many of you are in business, or even if you're ordering as a personal order, the order doesn't come. The supply chain is broken. Who ever thought of it? We never even talked about supply chain. Supply chain just worked. And because of what they've done, they've broken our supply chain.
When American businesses threatened to shut down factories and move them to Mexico and China, remember what Trump did? He picked up the phone and said, if you do that, I'm going to introduce you to a little word called the tariff. And a lot of American workers benefit because he was willing to fight for the interests and for their American jobs.
Inflation remains a concern, though it has moderated compared to previous years. The US Fed has been raising interest rates in an attempt to bring inflation below 3%. The unemployment rate is at 4.3% as of July 2024, with youth employment at 12.4%. There are concerns about job losses in certain sectors. Personal income and consumer spending have increased marginally, but the savings rate remains low at 3.4%. There is no immediate sign of a recession, although some experts warn of potential slowdowns. Kamala Harris and the Democrats say they plan to cut taxes for most Americans and prevent price gouging by grocers. They hope to build more affordable housing and call this an opportunity economy. Harris pledged to introduce a new child tax credit of as much as $6,000 for families with infants, cut taxes for families with kids, and lower prescription drug costs.
An economy where everyone can compete and have a real chance to succeed. Everyone, regardless of who they are or where they start, has an opportunity to build wealth for themselves and their children.
He knows what this will do: restrict our freedoms, rig the economy for the ultra-rich by punishing the middle class. If he returns to the White House, he's going to pick up just where he left off. But the people around him who worked with him the first time are already telling us it will be much, much worse.
Former President Trump suggested that Harris's proposals were akin to communist price controls, a concept he termed as the Maduro Plan. Harris told her supporters that the U.S. economy is strong, but prices were still too high, and that she is laser-focused on the middle class. Trump and Harris will debate on September 10 on ABC, setting up the first face-to-face matchup between the rivals in what polls show is a close race. The Economic Brief, DD India. Well, Anil Padmanabhan continues to be with us. Let's understand the story from his point of view. Mr. Padmanabhan, has the Democratic Party become too left of center, for a country that prides itself on the American dream?
Mark, see, in an election campaign, a lot is to do with optics. So, some which the candidates project and some the rivals project on the candidate. So in this case, what we are seeing is a lot of the fringe group in the Democratic Party have been arguing aggressively from an extreme left position. But please remember, it's a fringe group. largely the Democratic Party continues to be, kind of center, not, left of center, but not extreme left of center. And the unfortunately, Kamala Harris's recent remarks have only endorsed the fringe group perception that she is extreme left. But please remember, these are very early days. She has just inherited the mantle because this was quite unprecedented, where the current president stepped down and allowed her to be the candidate for the Democratic Party. So these are very early times and they're still sizing up. But my own belief is that the Democratic Party will remain centered, will not veer too far to the left, because that is where a large segment of their voters are. So ignore the optics and stay focused on the substance is what I would say.
And how far from reality is the Republicans' position, on protecting American jobs when America itself, is supposed to be the champion of globalization?
See, Mark, upfront we must understand America is only a champion of itself, which is nothing wrong with it. Every country should do precisely that. So when they embraced globalization, it was because they were they anticipated gains that will accrue to them. China became the factory of the world, cost of goods came down, so America rode on that wave of low inflation. But subsequently, the economics changed, and globalization became a sword which was beginning to damage the United States because jobs were being lost, factories were being moved out of the United States. So beginning with the Obama era, the rethink began on globalization. So today they don't oppose globalization, but they don't champion it anymore. But at the same time, now every political party is aspiring or claiming to protect jobs. But frankly, jobs is a crisis not just in the United States, it's all over the world.
Okay.
So it is not something that's going to be a magic wand to this. Every politician will claim whatever they want. But once you are in power, you'll stare at the realities and they're quite different. So watch what they promise and scrutinize them for what they can deliver.
And finally, do you see the US economy going into recession?
See, Mark, this is a fear that has been voiced for nearly a year. Mercifully, the new inflation numbers show a weakening of the inflation trend, which means the US Fed will consider a rate cut probably next month. And that is very important. So the worst is probably over. It's not that the economy is going to trade up from here on, but at least the trajectory towards a recession seems to have eased for the moment. Now, please remember the people have been suffering from inflation because the Fed had to raise interest rates, which meant mortgage costs went up. And now we are beginning to see a trend where the jobs growth, which was pretty healthy for most of this phase, has begun to taper off. It's not in negative territory, but it's not growing at the rate that it was growing, say, in the last quarter. So the big concern on inflation is fading, but a new challenge of jobs is emerging. And please remember, this is election time, so it becomes a very contentious issue.
Thanks very much, Mr. Anil Padmanabhan. Thank you very much for joining us and enlightening us on these stories.